Tony, welcome back to Tangerine. This time we are checking out action games and shooter games. I'm going to be starting with action games. And Tony, I have never played the game Punch-Out, but I assume if I had, it might be something like this. I have no idea if it is like this, but it is. It says it's inspired by Punch-Out, so I'm assuming Punch-Out is similar to this.
Right.
I feel like Punch-Out is not as ridiculous as this game becomes very quickly. It's basically like a boss rush game, so there's no like in between. You're always in like a boxing match against a boss, but they're always like these crazy characters that have like insane mechanics that you have to deal with. Like the game itself is quite simple. Like it starts out, it's like, hey, hit the guy, and then you may want to go for his face and then get him into like a staggered state, and then you've got to dodge his main attacks and sort of learn his moves, sort of things, you know? It's like fast and fluid and pretty fun, but then it's like this wacky comedy where it's like, okay, the next guy you're fighting is 3 kids on top of each other hiding in a trench coat, and it's just like, what? Okay.
And they cheat.
And then they're like, yeah, there's another kid off stage who tries to punch you with like a boxing glove on a stick in order to trick you. He's completely humiliated because I knocked his hat off, and now he's going into roid rage mode. Freezy Boy question. The Cold Killer! No.
Yep. Ice cold. He should just punch him in the head.
Yeah. I got him.
And he's gone.
Then you have like these bonus objectives sometimes. It's like, do it without getting blocked. Do it with all your health left. So you can like, there's like challenges for it. Yeah, oh, this is, sorry, cool. I don't know if you saw the name there, Tony. This is Mr. Adult Man. No kids allowed in the tournament. Yeah. Who do we have here? Mr. Adult Man. Fantastic, welcome.
Yeah. Just larger than life characters and
yeah.
Crazy
This
scenarios.
game is kind of ridiculous. I kind of love it for that.
Yeah. Well, there he is, cheating on the right.
Yeah, hit me from the side with a boxing glove, you son of a gun. It was very like, because you can kill the boss very quickly, but you also die very quickly as well. So it's very much about like learning mechanics and dodging and attacking very quickly.
Yeah.
Because I was dodging down, I'm like, I'm not gonna get punched.
They're just too sneaky.
Yeah, it's animated pixel art, retro soundtrack, old school sort of gameplay, I guess. I'm disappointed I didn't get to punch the kid at the end. That's what I was really looking forward to.
Punch the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like this is kind of a really cool concept. Just wild comedy, I suppose.
Some of the enemies were like super easy, and then some of them are like really hard. There doesn't feel like an in-between in this game.
Right.
Some enemies I was just destroying them first try, and then some enemies I was just constantly finding it impossible to read their attacks and when they were going to attack me, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with this sort of thing.
Right. Wild, dude.
But it's still interesting.
Like,
definitely worth. Yeah, it's definitely worth a go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a demo. Is there a demo still up? There's still a demo up if you want to give it a go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you like the idea of this, or / have played Punch-Out, I'd recommend Big Boy Boxing. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay.
Victory. Yeah, let's read.
Next up we have Bloodless. Bloodless is a really interesting game. I'm a big fan of Bloodless. It takes that idea of... Sekiro is a game all about parrying, where you have to basically parry your enemies in order to defeat them, and then attack them to kill them. Bloodless is a game that is about a ex-samurai who the use of color in this game is amazing. Like everything's very monochrome, and then when you have like you see this blood, you have like this PTSD of back to your warrior days, and you don't want to do it. So the main core principle of Bloodless is you defeat enemies only by blocking them, pretty much.
Okay.
So enemies come and attack you, and then your main objective is to deflect the sword out of their hands so they can no longer attack you, and then they run away. Or you can use.
You don't want to kill them.
You can use chi to weaken enemies down, so you can more easily disarm them, sort of thing. But it does this really cool thing where it mixes this gameplay element of non-violence and not wanting to kill people, but also this like thematic element of being a character who doesn't want to harm anyone, but is constantly mistaken for somebody to attack.
Right.
Because everyone knows, because like it's a thing where enemies know of you based on your appearance and your looks, and they go, "Oh, you're that famed samurai. You've killed so many people," and people, know you as this bloodthirsty warrior.
Right.
But the person you are now is you are almost like trying to, what's the word? Atone for your sins. Like you don't want to hurt anyone anymore.
It's like when Worf became a pacifist.
Yes.
Picard season 3.
Although he did immediately cut someone's head off,
He did.
I believe.
Yes. He was a Ferengi though.
Yeah. Yeah, it has that. I love how like color is a really important part in this. Like, I feel like there's obviously there's color in a lot of games, but I feel like there is so much more you can do with color. Yeah, the use of color, the idea of just having like very simplistic like white and blacks, and then the idea of bringing in these deep reds as almost like a like a PTSD mechanic. But then you have like these Estus flasks which you regain at campfires basically, so it's another like Souls mechanic. It feels like almost like a 2D like a distilled like it's almost like a demake of Sekiro in some ways without like the
but different.
And you brew these potions.
Concept.
So initially you have one gourd container, but it seems like you might be able to get a different one. And the normal gourd lets you heal a point of health. You have 3 points of health. And then there's also a gourd recipe you can make, which means that because every time you dash and you parry, it uses stamina. And there's a different recipe that means you have fast regenning stamina for the next like 20 seconds, but it takes up a charge that you could be used on a gourd to heal. So you won't be able to heal, but you'll be able to block and dash more. So it's kind of like a trade-off of what you want to choose, which I think is interesting. So the enemies, there's different. So this guy will attack you, so you have to parry, but he'll also like throw a dagger at you, which you'll have to dodge out the way of.
Oh, it's not everything you can parry.
Yeah.
Okay. That does seem interesting.
Well, there'll be these big guys that you'll have to like hit down with like chi strikes before you can disarm them. Like I can skip ahead and show you some. Oh, it's the ginger tea, and then you get like because you get these.
Execution seems really good.
You get like these chi system. And you can get like new skills and new abilities, like more. You can do more with parry or more with chi or stuff like that, which makes it really interesting.
What are the specials? Specials tab?
So you can have a special attack that when you fill a bar, you can unleash like a AOE attack, or you can equip different ones. So you can see I have these pink petals here, and you charge that up as you go through combat.
Right.
So you can equip different special techniques based on how you want to play.
Yeah, I'm probably like that.
It's pretty cool, yeah. Up here. So you have these red attacks which are unavoidable. So I have to whittle this guy down with chi, and then I can stun him, and goes into his second phase.
Where you can actually parry him. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's really good. That's much deeper. I was expecting, like, based on like the different types of enemies there are.
Yeah.
And I guess how many different enemies are on screen at once as well.
Yeah, there's like a mix between like it becomes interesting when you have there's some ranged dudes and then there's some big dudes. I did find there was a point where there was like 3 waves of big dudes and then another 3 waves of big dudes, and it was kind of overwhelming to a point where I was like, oh, this doesn't feel that fun because I'm spending all my stamina dodging one and then the 2 others are just hitting me while I'm trying to dodge the other one, which is kind of annoying. Like, you really do need to manage your stamina in this game. Or even, like, use ginger teas or whatever. Because, like, Sekira's was a game where, like, calculated aggression was really important and, like, powering at the right time and stuff. But Sekira was also a game where there was no stamina bar. You could always run around, sort of thing. So it's quite different in that respect. There's, like, no cost to dodging out the way, sort of thing. Amazing. I think you're helping this guy who's taken over the bandits. You're helping them reclaim the bandit clan. You defeated Saul and you didn't take a single drop of blood. And he's like, blood was never my intention. Mystery here. So you got the drawn blood and then suddenly everything shifts. It's like the water turns into rivers of blood. Everything's covered in blood. This is kind of like the tease of the story. Like, you're trying to figure out who you were, what's going on, and why you don't want to draw blood anymore. But yeah, this is a really cool game. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I'm getting distracted watching it because I'm like, oh, this is really fun. I want to just watch it and soak it in again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Let's just check my notes quickly, see if there's anything else I forgot to mention. You have refillable health pots, which you get from the that there is like a campfire system, basically. Oh, something I should mention. I wish you could skip dialogue before boss fight areas, as having to watch them over and over and over again is annoying when you keep failing. There was no way to skip them in this demo, which is really annoying. Let me skip dialogue if I've already seen it, because if I have to watch it every time I start a boss encounter, that's really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And also, when you're out of combat, you can sprint to get around, but for some reason, sprinting feels kind of slow, and it also takes stamina, and you're only ever really sprinting to get around the map when you're out of combat, so I don't know why sprinting needs to take stamina. Surely you should just make it so it doesn't take stamina when you're out of combat, so you can just move around the map slightly quicker. That was something I wanted to mention. Then, next up we have Crypt Custodian. I thought this demo was pretty cool. Essentially, you go to the afterlife, and you are inside purgatory, I guess, where you're learning your fate of how you're going to be judged, whether you go to the good place or the bad place. It seems like, based on this intro, you were involved in some sort of car accident before you died. You were like a regular cat, but now you're a cat with a cloak on, and you have like opposable thumbs.
Right. Very different.
But kind of the start of the story here is you need to get to the temple, and by going to the temple, you smash a bunch of pots. And then the judge is like, did you smash my special pots? I'm going to banish you to the eternal damnation, basically, because you smashed my pots. And it's like, oh, well, the game made me smash the pots. And I guess what? I would have smashed smashed the pots even if I didn't have to smash the pots, because I like smashing things. Because I'm a cat.
Understandable.
Yeah. So it after that point, it goes into this like 2D top-down Metroidvania. And there's also like a currency system, like you're collecting what looks like coal or like rocks or something. You can like spend these on a shop to unlock more like health points and abilities and stuff. There's like light platforming as well. And they have this like interesting use of save points as teleport and heal. So it sort of is like Souls like bonfires, but without the health pots. So that there isn't. The dev actually posted on the community hub because people are like, oh, you should have like health pots and then like the ability to refill them when you go to these wells. And he was like, actually, the way I balance the game is I just put more wells down. So there's more like teleport points. And I wanted to balance it around having them frequently enough that you could save and teleport around without making the game too easy. Which I think is an admirable thing to do. Like, there is quite a lot of these save points and teleport points. So it never feels too punishing when you die. So, like, I could see, like, wanting to restrict the amount of flasks sort of thing. Or restrict flasks with more save points. I think that was a cool way to do it. And it's, like, it's cool that you can spend this coal to, like, unlock special abilities and upgrade your character. I didn't
say what the currency is in the game.
I don't think so. Well, the thing is, when you get banished to the bad place, that you become a janitor, and then you talk to people, and they basically say everyone gets assigned to be a janitor and clean up, and eventually people just stop cleaning because they can't, like, nobody's watching over them. They just live in the bad place now, right?
Right.
And the bad afterlife. So you're a janitor. Like, your main attack is like a broom. That's how you quote unquote accidentally destroy the crypts. The pots. But yeah, you are the Crypt Custodian. You are the janitor of the afterlife. Like, you go around and. So I guess if you were going around cleaning stuff, coal may become a currency because it's kind of valuable. Especially to light things like fires, but they don't use bonfires in this game. They use wells. So actually, I don't know. It's always raining in this game. I don't know if I've seen a fire. But yeah, this game is really fun. I think I'd highly recommend it. This was actually one of those games, Tony. Like, usually when I play a demo, I'm of two minds. So there'll be some demos I'm like, I have to keep playing this because it's so fun. And sometimes I play a demo and I'm like, I have to stop playing this because I will keep playing this and I want to play the thing when it comes out, sort of thing. I feel like I stopped playing this because I was like, you know what? I might play this when it comes out, so I'm going to not... I don't want to sink too much time into upgrading stuff and progressing my character when I know I'm going to want to sit down and play it again, you know? So this was one where I got like... I played it for like 30 minutes and I was like, okay, this is really fun. I'm going to play more of this when it comes out, sort of thing. So I highly recommend Crypt Custodian. I thought it was really good. Combat felt good, exploration, movements, and that sort of stuff. Really, really fun. So yeah, recommend Crypt Custodian. Next up we have Disco Samurai. We have Joe playing rhythm games and cannot decide whether he's bad at rhythm games or a lot of rhythm games suck. I mean, I must be pretty bad at rhythm games. I don't know. I do play a lot of rhythm games these days, like Trombone Champ and Spin Rhythm XD, and of course Sekiro, the secret rhythm game.
Yep.
But this is a game where you basically... It kind of reminds me of like Hotline Miami, that very like disco fast-paced combat. But also you have like the hit to the beat, almost like... This is almost... Because it's like a rhythm sword fighting game where you parry and swing to the music. But I found it much easier when I focused on parrying and attacking. Because there was this flow state power-up thing, which added... So it's like, oh, because you have attacked and parried enough, you can now kick someone. So you could press another button, you could kick someone into the environment and kick them into like a cactus, and that would kill them. Or that you could shoot a gun, but not only would you have to, when you use the flow state, you would have to like kind of get away from the rhythm of attacking and parrying. You would have to use the kick and use the gun on the beat. So you would have to... Using the flow state would take me out of the flow state, and I actually found it way easier just to kind of ignore it. I actually found it easier to just kind of ignore those mechanics. Also, another thing that really helped me stay in the flow state was turning on the 300 millisecond accessibility window, where the game has a thing where you can be like 300 milliseconds out of the actual timing in order to make it like a bit more lenient, which I found a lot easier. I don't know, like, if it's brain delay, if it's if it's Bluetooth headphones delay, but I was finding the game a lot more enjoyable when I turn that on. You can call it like, bad rhythm, but I just enjoyed the game more when I turned that on. So
yeah, that's what games are for, right? In the end of the day, so just have fun. Like, sure, it needs to be challenging, but
let's see if I can find when I
level.
Turn the setting on, maybe. I don't know the exact. Oh, here's the gun mechanic, so I can kick people into these potted plants. So there's been other rhythm games I played, like Metal Hellslinger, which I didn't really like. Oh, okay, here we go. So there's like calibration. Oh, one thing to point out: I tried the calibration mini game in the game in order to calibrate it to see if any of my timings are off with my latency or anything. I couldn't get the thing to work. I think it's broken. And I think other people were saying about this on the thing, maybe that the calibration thing wasn't working properly.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
This is just a demo issue, maybe.
I was like, I'll try the calibration in case it's me that's, slightly off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I turned on the forgiving time window, the 300 milliseconds, and I found that a lot easier, so... but I thought this was pretty fun. This is something I would play again. I thought it was pretty cool. Let's move on to the next one. We have Pinball Spire. Man, this is a game that kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like, again, Tony, I was saying this before with Pac-Man and Tetris. Pinball is one of those games where I've never really been a big pinball guy. I was like, I kind of don't get pinball that much. I've played it, but I'm like, you kind of shoot the ball up and then you kind of just endlessly stop it from going in the hole. Like, what's the point? And one of the main reasons I didn't like it much was it feels like there's very little progression in pinball. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
And number two, it feels like you have very little control over the ball in pinball.
No,
like
that's a skill issue.
Well, there's a whole tilt mechanic, which I don't consider to be like a...
No, we don't.
Like tilting the pinball table and stuff like that.
Even without that, there's still a skill thing that you're meant to like try and shoot in places so it doesn't fall into places where you can't and hit it.
Yeah, but I still feel like overall you are slightly at the mercy of RNG sometimes when it comes to pinball.
Yeah, I think you can overcome that. The skill is the whole point. But yeah, 100% you're first starting out. But there's definitely no progression though. It's just like you're just doing the same.
Well, I just say immediately the design and the music of this immediately reminded me of like old PopCap. Like the soundtrack of this, I was very much like, and the sound effects and stuff. I was like, this feels, this like sounds immediately like I'm playing it like Peggle or Bejeweled or like one of those old PopCap games, and it made me go, man, I miss PopCap,
yeah.
In the EA graveyard. But maybe Tony. This takes pinball and it turns it into this like tower climbing Metroidvania game. Almost like Jump King mechanics as well, where you're climbing the tower and when you fall through the pinball hall, you go to the previous floor, sort of thing. So there is like falling back a floor, sort of thing. And I like that sense of you're constantly climbing a big tower. And it also gets to add abilities as well, which comes to the Metroidvania thing, where you'll have a ability that's like a fire ability, which lets you progress by making it so you can light these candles in order to light them up so you can go to the next room. But it also has the added effect of when you are on fire, you don't bounce through objects. But if you are not on fire, you do. So again, this goes out to my point of this game gives you a lot more control than a regular pinball game. You're like, okay, I want to bounce here, I don't want to bounce here, sort of thing. Like, because your main control of pinball is starts and stops at hitting the ball. How you hit the ball is how you control it, right?
Yeah.
But this sort of, you get to control the ball midair, like, and also as well, as somebody who is not the greatest pinball player, it gives you this ability to slow down time. And when you get the ability to slow down time, it gives you like this, Bjorn, have you ever played Peggle?
No, not really. I've watched Peggle, but I've never played
There's a unicorn in Peggle called Bjorn, and when you collect the green peg, which is the special ability, his special ability is he gets like a trajectory on his Peggle hits where it shows you where the ball is going to bounce to next. Right. So it's like a very good character for new players because it goes, if you hit the Peggle here, then it's going to bounce off and go here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's really good for me because a lot of the time it'd be like, okay, you need to hit the Peggle ball up into that thing at the top, and like as somebody who's not very good at as somebody who's not very good at pinball, it'd be like, I just keep hitting the ball and missing. But when you get the ability to slow down time, I can go, okay, I'm going to perfectly line it up so it goes into that hole at the top, sort of thing, and then I can go to the next area. And it felt like it was a game that was good for people who are not necessarily like pinball players could play this. And I was like, this is pretty cool. This is really interesting. Like it's good the way they've done it, and it actually, the progression and stuff like that was really, like as you get points and pick up coins and attack enemies, you also get an XP bar as well, which is really cool. Like there is that constant sense of progression, like you become more powerful, sort of thing. And I think they did it in a way that genuinely was really cool.
I think as well that the what I'm seeing is that they create the boards, I suppose, the level to be like slightly easier. Like there's not so many pitfalls, and
it gets more complicated as you climb.
Yeah, so progression in that, I think, it's a good idea. I said like this could actually help you learn and get used to pinball. It might actually be a thing. No, I quite like the pinball mechanic, and so like this actually looks really good. I like the idea of like progression pinball.
Because we did a Tangerine for Nexus on movement games, and I'm like, it's not really a movement game. It's kind of movement, but it's also kind of a puzzle, but it's also kind of a Metroid. Like it's mixing and matching a lot of genres.
It's a sports game.
Oh, the sport of pinball.
It's just like tennis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, pinball is actually really hard. But I just give up and go, it's an arcade game. And obviously, this is an arcade game with progression. Well,
that's what I thought about Pac-Man. And then I started playing more Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, there's something more to this.
Yeah, it's difficult.
And then Tetris 99, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe there's something more to Tetris. Like, I'm actually really enjoying this. So yeah, I think it's cool when you take like a simple concept of a game that you may have looked at and gone, oh, this is just a really simple thing, and you add more to it and you go, wait, maybe there is something more complex to this that I've been missing.
Yeah.
I'll show you some of the later levels. Like, it does get a lot more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there'll be like a bunch of buttons you have to press, but like, you need to spell out the word ball, and then you can progress to the next door and get the next ability.
The closest this is it Sonic Heroes, where like there's like a
casino level
of pinball. Yeah, you play pinball.
What about the next level? Isn't there literally a pinball Metroid? It's like the delivery game, Yuka's Island Express or something.
Oh yeah. I guess that's That's a little bit different. It's not like a proper
That's like
I guess
a.
it's sort of similar. That's very closer, yeah.
It's like a Metroid.
quite
That is
broad.
like a Metroidvania
Yeah,
pinball
yeah.
game, isn't it? It's like a platforming
Yeah.
Metroidvania pinball game. Maybe I just need to play like Yoku's. I think we did a spotlight on that, and
Yes.
I was like, "This is interesting." And I'm like, maybe I need to play Yoku's Island Express and just be like, maybe you know, progression exploration pinball is a thing that I might be interested in. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. Next up, we have Vindefiant, and this immediately I was like, have y'all played Carry On? It is a reverse horror game in a sense where you play as... Also, as someone who's just played Celeste, the dialogue is straight up Celeste, you know. Like
Right.
Looks exactly like it, sounds exactly like it. Like they're obviously heavily inspired by the Celeste dialogue. But yeah, I saw this game. I think it was at OTK. Well, because I saw it was OTK Games Expo, and I thought it looked pretty cool. And I saw the dev, and the dev was like, "Ah, yes. Have you ever felt like you wanted to go and kill your boss?" And I'm like, is this guy a self-insert? Is this guy okay? Like, does he want to hurt someone? But yeah, because like, speaking of Celeste is a game that is all about facing your evils, like your evil alter ego, like your evil side. And again, the soundtrack, the dialogue boxes, having an evil alter ego. If they're not going to mention it, this game feels very heavily inspired by Celeste. But as well as games like Carry On or even like Prototype, where you have these reverse horror games where you get to play as the monster and fuck shit up, right?
I guess compared to Celeste, you actually play as the bad character, though.
Yeah. People always want to play as the bad guy, Tony.
I think it's definitely more fun. Well, I say more fun. It's more. In certain situations, it's more interesting.
Again, I just do what I do in Carry On, where I'm like, oh, what's the most interesting way I can murder people?
Yes. Yeah.
And I hope there is more like in Carry On, there's mechanics where you can like. It's one of my favorite mechanics in both Prototype and Carry On. There's a mechanic where you can possess people, and then you can basically get them to kill themselves or get them to murder their friends in interesting ways. Or one thing I'd love doing in Prototype was I would morph into an old lady, run up the side of a building, and then just do like crazy freakish shit while I'm looking like I'm this tiny little old lady, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? All the people watching, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's for your own enjoyment. There's not so much mechanical stuff because like you kind of. Yeah, I've actually a Prototype, but it's definitely a fun, weird game.
Yeah.
With flaws. But yeah, I just get
The main mechanic is
with this game.
The game. It's very simple so far from the demo. Like it's mostly just going through similar-ish looking buildings and getting past like armed guards while not touching spikes. Seems to be the main gameplay of it. Like Carry On had the whole like Metroidvania angle where you were like a living mass and you were absorbing things, and it was a Metroidvania where you get new abilities to do stuff. This feels very simple so far. Like I would love to see. I hope there's more to this game and it's not just you're going through. Oh, also, Tony, Celeste. In Celeste, you have this snowy background and you're climbing a mountain. In this game, you have this snowy background and you're climbing like a building tower.
Yeah.
I don't know if this person's played Celeste, but it feels very much like they have.
Your bet is that.
My bet is that they've played Celeste.
That's fair.
Yeah. But anyway, that's Vindefiant. And that's the end of the action section. So let's move on to the shooters. And let's start with Devilated. Okay, so Devilated. Devilated is... Okay. You said to me the other day, have we reached boomer shooter saturation? Is there enough boomer shooters in the world right now?
Well, that's just my opinion. Like, to me, a lot of them are very similar. I don't think we've reached peak. I just feel like maybe need more interesting stuff.
Well, I was sitting down, I was playing this game, and I'm like, I still love boomer shooters, and I still like really enjoy them. But I was like,
yeah,
I feel like I've never played Devilated, but I feel like I have played games very much similar to Devilated before. Like, it's a boomer shooter. It has demon themes. It has Gianni doing the voice acting, who does like the voice acting for every single boomer shooter these days, which is not a bad thing. I think he's a good voice actor. And it has glory kills, lots of guns, fast pace. Like, Devilated didn't feel bad to play, but it just didn't really do anything particularly exciting.
right. It's just like by the books, or
Yeah, and especially I think the boss disappointed me a lot because the boss was just very boring. I'll show you the boss. It was sort of just like walking around in circles, holding down left click, I would say.
right. There's nothing. Yeah, there's no like clever enemy design to try and.
Well, don't get me wrong, like Quake is one of
your
my favorite games of all time, and the boss in Quake is you walk around in circles pressing switches. So like
yeah,
there is good games of like really, you know, simple, not very interesting bosses. Like Quake, but I mean we've come far enough that we know that it's not a very interesting idea.
yeah.
And I felt like, yeah, because I think this game is it's already out. It's another one because I was surprised how many games because usually in the demo fest you go, okay, we're releasing this next year or releasing this like in the next couple of months. It's like, hey, this is coming out soon, or this game is coming out, you know, next year, keep an eye on it. But I was surprised how many games I played that were like came out years ago but were doing a demo as in a way to be like, hey, this game's already out, but check out this demo as like a slice of life of the game, which I'm not opposed to that type of demo, but I feel like it's kind of against what I use NextFest for. I personally use NextFest to be like, okay, what's an interesting thing that's going to be coming out? Like, what's a new idea? And this feels like, shit, we want to re-advertise our game because it came out and it hasn't got as much press. Like, obviously, NextFest is a PR thing, but I much prefer it when it's used more so for... I mean, obviously advertising the games is a PR thing, but I like the idea of new ideas and new games that are coming out.
Yeah.
Because I read, because it was it's been in early access since like 2021, and I think a lot of people were saying it seems like they haven't added a lot since the early access sort of thing, from what I read of the reviews. So yeah, I just wasn't that interested in this. Like it's fine, it just didn't seem that interesting, sort of thing.
Right.
Let's move to I Am Your Beast. This is, I think, Strange Scaffolding is becoming a very interesting developer. So, do you remember I think it was the Demo Fest, but last year we played El Paso Everywhere? Or
yes.
Where it was the like Mad Max game where you're going around killing vampires.
Yeah.
They do a lot of like interesting. I don't know if you ever heard of Space Warlord organ trading, but they made a game where you had to trade like space organs on the space stock market, basically. Or they just made a game called Click Holding, which obviously is a pun on cuckolding, where you have to click a clicker over and over again by a guy in a dark room at gunpoint. They just make really weird games. And they're constantly making them. But I Am Your Beast is a revenge story game where you're playing as like a soldier who it's a very like fast-paced game. Immediately I want to point out there's this mechanic where you have to perch onto branches, and it's really clunky. Like, it was the one thing about the demo which I was like, this sucks. other than that, it felt really like smooth and frenetic to play. But the perch mechanic, it was like, you are now on this perch and you have to manually press this button and then you will be taken onto this next perch sort of thing. That was the only thing other than that. But the story is only ever told through soldiers' chatter and these sections where you're having conversations over the radio with a colonel who's basically saying, you need to come back to me and do a job. And you're like, no, this is my forest. I'll never work for you again. If you send any more soldiers into here, I will kill them. Like, it's very much like a mystery thing where you've sort of escaped from this underground paramilitary sort of thing, complex thing, where you were doing shady undercover ops and now you're trying to get out of it sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's this like very like fast-paced, quick combat where you kill enemies very quickly and they die very quickly, and it's like it reminds me very much of like a of like a 3D Hotline Miami or like a Super Hot, except there's no like time freezing mechanics.
Right. You just have to be quick. You can't.
I didn't feel a thing.
I think one of the devs is actually the voice actor potentially as well. And I think the voice acting is very good from what I listened to.
Okay.
But I think like gameplay and aesthetically I fuck heavy with this game. Like it's doing something really interesting and it feels really fun to play. It's like it's lightning fast. It is very fast paced with like an interesting story going along. Let's see if I can get like some of the story.
Comms code 8, Hotel
I'll let it play.
Delta Echo Sierra.
We don't need a comms code, General. I know who you are.
That's so. I'd assumed you'd forgotten, based on the dead squad my boys found yesterday.
Why do you have boys in the area?
I've got a job for you. Eastern Europe. You're the only one who can do it, and you're going to save a lot of lives in the process.
Does this have anything to do with those new oil reserves they found in the Black Sea?
What?
I may be out in the middle of nowhere, but I still find time to read.
It's one last job, Harding. One last job, and you're out.
I've heard that before.
Don't be stubborn. Your country needs you. The Covert Operations Initiative needs you. And you killed my men. You owe me.
See, I don't think that's true. I think as of 5 one last jobs ago, you owe me. Pull your agents back, Birkin.
Harding? Harding? Did you turn off your communicator? Harding!
So that's sort of like that's how all of the story is told, is through these like recordings. So that's how you sort of piece the story together, and then you have these like sort of fast-paced
Yeah, music's pretty intense.
sort of going in and killing all the enemies, and then you're trying to get out. Oh, I can't wait to perch up here. It's going to be so sick. Like, I wish you could just grab onto ledges and pull yourself up. It would be so much more frenetic than perch! And now I'm perched! And unperch! You know?
Yeah, a bit more float. Yeah. Sure.
Basically, you get graded on, like, how fast you do it, like, how quickly you kill people and get to the exit. And then there's like bonus objectives that get unlocked so you can replay through levels. But this, yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoyed it. Let's talk about the next game, SULFUR. SULFUR is a game I saw and I was like, this looks really cool. Because it's like it has like this almost like this cartoony art style, like very big blocky colors mixed with like this goblin aesthetic, like wizards and goblins and ghouls. But then it's very much like gun orientated. The store page says SULFUR is a modern old school action adventure. Outsmart enemies, find treasure, improve weapons, harness powers, delve deeper, find answers, make it end. Like it's a very interesting game where you have like these old, like it's almost like a dungeon crawling RPG, but you have like guns. It's like a mixed match of genres, and it's set up as like a run system, so it's almost like roguelite sort of as well.
Interesting.
And you have like this interesting like inventory system, like it's almost like a giant attaché case as well. And there's also the cooking system where you can put a bunch of ingredients into a pot and cook it, but I could never figure out the recipes. Like I tried a bunch of different shit, and I was like, oh, I don't know. Like
you have to get your inner Neelix to help you.
Yeah, I need Neelix, the greatest chef ever to live. You know, there's coffee in that nebula. Yeah, so there's like mushroom eating. Barter-based trading, another like old school RPG mechanic where it's like I'll give you 5 mushrooms for this bullet, and like the art style was like really nice. Like I like these very like clear blocky colors, makes everything look really readable from a distance. And yeah, I pretty enjoyed this one, and it seems like it's like a run system, so you can go deeper and try and find more stuff, or you can like go back to the surface and put stuff into chests to use on more runs, basically. There's another one where I was like, oh, it's like a roguelike thing, so if I spend a bunch of time in it, I can unlock more stuff, but it's a demo, so I'm not gonna, spend a bunch of time unlocking stuff with the demo,
So you enjoyed the mechanics then, like you?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. It's weird being like goblins running at you with spears and then just shooting them with a glizzy, But there is like more ranged enemies.
Right.
It's like I've looted a goblin's brain. I'm like, what do I do with that? Can I put it on my brain? It's like, no, you can because I found these mushrooms that I could eat that would heal me, so I started picking them up, and then found mushrooms that would injure me, so I was throwing them away. And then I found a vendor, and I was like, wait, maybe he'll buy like the bad mushrooms. So I was like collecting the bad mushrooms to sell them, but making sure I didn't eat them. And then like,
wait, you cooking a brain?
Well, so I was trying. I was like, "What? How do I?" The game doesn't really explain to you like how you cook stuff or what the recipes are. I guess the idea is you kind of figure it out as you play through it.
Yeah.
So you have these velvet bells which you can eat, which heal you, and then you have like these false ones where they actually injure you if you eat them. So you just not eat them accidentally, but you can sell them for money, sort of thing. I was like, does stick and brain and mushroom combined into anything? And you can also find like consumable things. So you get like, you can throw like poison on the ground to injure a bunch of enemies at once, or like Molotovs and stuff like that, right? Which is pretty cool. And it's just, this is the main gameplay. It felt like very simple, but still like quite fun. I would like to see more from this SULFUR. SULFUR feels like there's a good base, but I would like to see like an overarching story and more mechanics and more like upgrades in the town and like like it feels like a good tech demo right now of like, oh, here's like a game with a cool art style and interesting like mechanics and RPG stuff like shooting and movement and stuff. It's like I would like to see more of a game around it though. That's how I felt. Yeah. So I felt with SULFUR, but
it's definitely interesting.
But yeah, SULFUR was pretty fun from what I played. I like how you get like scopes and you can put like a fucking sniper scope and like a shotgun and stuff like that. Because you're like, oh, when you aim down sight, you get like more damage, but it's also like a fucking shotgun. Which is pretty cool.
Interesting.
And then the final game I played was Wild Bastards. And I think this is listed as a spiritual successor to Void Bastards, but it's not made by the same people. It is a roguelite strategy shooter with heart-pounding FPS action, mod management, and tactical campaign.
We didn't shake him.
So it was like an interesting thing where you go into these like combat encounters and it's like an FPS, right? Where you have to shoot a bunch of people, but you have this ship where you land on different planets. There's like an overworld of like different planets where you move your ship around, and then there's also like an overworld on the planet where you move pieces around. Like it's like a turn-based strategy as well, which is really interesting because it's like
We can leave this shithole.
it's like the art and the characters were very compelling because there's these relationships between the different, I'm going to call them bastards, or the characters. Like I love the dialogue, and it was compelling to see like the different relationships between the characters and if they liked and disliked each other. But it was really cool because like another character came to my ship that was like, oh, I fucking hate this character. And then the game pops up and it's like, look, these characters hate each other. They will refuse to go on missions together. So if you choose two people to go on a mission, you cannot choose these two people because their relationship is broken. So you need to like repair their relationship if you want them to go into missions with each other, which I thought was really interesting because it has this like FPS like gunplay gameplay to it, but it's also very much like a turn-based strategy management game at the same time, which is really cool because like each character has their own gun. So like Spider Rosa has a revolver, but then she has like a special ability you can unlock which creates like a hologram of her to distract the enemies, and then midway through combat you can switch to your other operative and you'll have like Casino, who's like a living slot machine who has like a shotgun, so he's like very short range, and then you use the special ability which does like a big attack if I remember. But it's cool that like
how many characters are there?
There's a bunch. From the demo you could only play as 2 characters at once and you would switch between them inside the combat. And as you could see there, like I only started as Spider Rosa because as I was getting beamed down, one of the beams got scattered, so it meant he got placed on the map somewhere else, so I had to go and rescue him before I could play as him. So I guess that's like a random element as you go through different missions. When you beam down, one of your beams could get scattered and it would completely change like that run of that mission. You would have to go and pick up the other character before you could use them again in that run. Because every map is its own like self-contained thing where you basically choose where you want to go based on like, oh, I want to go over here because there's money, or I want to go over here because there's a shop so I can spend my money to get upgrades. And then essentially what you're trying to do is get as much gear for your ship and stuff and then beam up and get off the planet, because eventually as you're on the planet a nemesis will come down and they'll start like moving. They'll have their own turns on the map where they'll move around and catch you, and there'll be like a really strong combat encounter if they catch you. So they're sort of like a clock basically of like, oh shit, you need to move now. Like you can stay and you can risk it and you might be able to destroy the threat that's coming if you're strong enough or skilled enough, but here's the thing to say, look, you're not going to be able to get everything on the map without taking some damage or some cost to it. You may have to fight this guy that's come down on his ship, and it's like it has like that strategy element to it that way. I thought this game was really fun. I thought it was really interesting as well. Like you don't see much stuff like this where it's like FPS strategy.
How come most of the actual like FPS encounters, like is it like
I'll show you some of
enemies?
Yeah, it also depends on what sort of planet you're on. Like, you can get like gear as you go along, which will give you different resistances or bonuses. So, I found I was on a planet with a bunch of poison snakes, and I found a piece of gear that gave me 100% poison resistance. So I was every time I fought snakes, I was literally invincible because I couldn't take poison damage, and they would only do poison attacks. Like, poison attacks were really fucking annoying when I didn't have that, but as soon as I got it, I'm like, oh, I'm no longer scared of snakes, which I guess is kind of OP, but also interesting, where it's like, depending on your gear, you can be really strong against a certain type of enemy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool, / maybe not great to be invincible against one enemy. Depends on your... Like, in some games, you want to be like, feel like you are kind of overpowered, sort of thing, like the power fantasy that you can earn. Just depends on the game. Because this is like a roguelite thing, turn-based thing. Like, you do become more powerful.
The strategy elements, it makes more sense, right?
And like gold, I think gold you only spend on like the planet and the shop to get, you know, new gear and stuff. But you can also get, when you defeat enemies, you get infamy, which in space you can go to infamy and people will know of your deeds of killing enemies, and you can basically spend your infamy. And there's also these cards on the map, which are aces, which let you unlock new abilities for your different operators, and they will be specific to that operator. So there'll be like an ace card for Spider Rosa, and it's like, okay, Spider Rosa can summon her hologram now. You now have the next ace for Spider Rosa. She now deals like 5% more damage or whatever, right?
Right, okay. So there's actually a progression in that front as well.
So like here, my character Smokey died. He got injured, so I can't use him until I've done that. So I got an ace card for Spider Rosa here, so all back shots on enemies become crits as her ace, which is pretty cool. But I need to heal Smokey here in order to use him again. He's like, he shoots fireballs, is his like abilities.
Yeah, you basically lost access to that weapon type because of losing the character.
But you can see here, like, you have the map of the planet, but you also have like a map of the overworld where you're going across different solar systems in order to resurrect more of your allies, sort of things, in order to progress through the story in the game.
Are you a gang then? Like...
Yeah, you're like fighting the law, I guess. You're the wild bastards.
Yeah.
You're like space cowboys. Yeah, spiritual successor of the Void Bastard.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what Void Bastard is. I've never played it.
I don't know either. Yeah.
But looking at the screenshots, it does look a little bit similar to this. It was like a FPS action roguelite with some like immersive simmy strategy to it. Like it has that. This game seems to... Void Bastard also seems to have like an overworld map with some strategy to it, which like as someone who's never played Void Bastards, I found this game really compelling and fresh. So maybe I need to check out Void Bastards as well, because that game looks really cool. But yeah, I want to see more of this. It came out in 2019, so 15 years old. Sorry, 5 years old.
Yeah,
something like that. But it seemed quite popular. But yeah, it's cool to see that. You know, they did that game, and somebody else was like, "That's a really cool idea. Let me try and do that myself." You know.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, this is really good though.
Okay, what? They've listed it as a spiritual success. Oh, it's the same dev. Okay. Because it says the spiritual successor. So I was like, okay, it's not the same dev, because when you say spiritual successor, you mean we were inspired by this, but we don't actually make... Because usually, if you make Void Bastards, you would say, hey, we made Void Bastards. We're making a new game that's like Void Bastards. But they've just gone, no. We don't need to mention the fact we made Void Bastards. We are making a game that's like Void Bastards, but not necessarily telling you that we also made that. I feel like that would have been a stronger selling point if they were like, and we're the same dev. Because that would make me more interested in it if I'd played the Void Bastards game. I don't know. This game's really cool. And if Void Bastards, I guess, if it's the same dev in Void Bastards and it's similar to this game, maybe I should play Void Bastards, because that game's really should be really cool if it's like this game. I really liked Wild Bastards, so yeah. Interested to see more of it when it comes out. And that is the final game of our actions / shooter games.
Right.
So yeah, that's the end, Tony. I'll do our
big roundup
favorite
to
list,
do.
and then
Yep.
we will get into it next time. So we'll see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.